You know, what really separates a good decision maker from a truly great strategic thinker? It's not just about knowing more stuff or having a higher IQ. It's all about how they think. So, in this explainer, we're going to break down the exact mental habits that'll help you think like a world-class strategist. All right, let's just jump right in with a question for you. Think of something, anything, that you are 100% sure of. Just completely certain about it. You got it in your head? Okay, hold on to that thought because your relationship with being sure, well, that's the key to this whole thing. And that brings us to the first big hurdle we all have to get over, what I call the certainty trap. Look, our brains are kind of wired for easy answers, right? We crave black and white thinking because honestly, it's just simpler. It feels safe. But that instinct, that can be a huge blind spot. So you can see here how these two ways of thinking stack up. On one side, you've got absolute thinking. It's super rigid, you know? Things are either always or never, right or wrong. But on the other side, there's probabilistic thinking. This is way more flexible, more nuanced. We're talking likely versus unlikely, or having high confidence. And let's be real, that second one, that's how the world actually works. This quote just nails it, doesn't it? The minute you think you're absolutely certain about something, you kind of stop looking for new information. You just shut down. But the real strategic thinkers, they get comfortable living in those shades of gray because they know that's where the real opportunities and, yeah, the real truth are usually hiding. So the big question is, how do we escape this trap? Well, the trick is to activate what we'll call your inner observer. And the powerful tool we're going to use to do that is a concept called metacognition. It sounds fancy, but it's actually super simple. Metacognition is literally just the habit of thinking about your thinking. It means instead of just having a thought and immediately running with it, you take a step back and you look at it. You start to question your own gut reactions and ask, wait, why do I actually believe that? I love this analogy. Think of it like this. You are the CEO of your own mind. You're not just another employee on the factory floor, just reacting to whatever information comes down the line. Nope. You're the one in the corner office, looking at the whole picture, questioning the assumptions, and deciding the overall strategy for how your entire brain is going to operate. Okay, so how do you actually do this? How do you turn on that inner observer? It's really just a simple three-step habit. First, and this is maybe the hardest part, you just pause. Stop yourself before you make that snap judgment. Second, observe. Ask yourself, okay, what am I assuming here? And third, this is the real game changer. Question. Actively ask yourself, how could I be totally wrong about this? And once you start practicing that pause, observe, question cycle, it naturally leads you to this next huge concept, thinking in probabilities. This is a massive mental shift. You stop asking, is this true? And you start asking a much more powerful and strategic question. Okay, how likely is this to be true? You see, being 100% certain is actually really fragile. The second a new piece of information comes along, your whole belief system can just shatter. But a strategist, they operate with, let's say, 85% confidence. And that little 15% gap, that's not a weakness. That is your secret weapon. It's the space you leave open to learn, to adapt, and, ironically, to be right more often in the long run. Here's a great way to think about it. It's basically like a weather forecast, but for your decisions. A meteorologist never says there's a 100% chance of rain, right? They say there's a 70% chance or a 90% chance. And that doesn't make the forecast less useful, it makes it more useful because it gives you a realistic picture of the world and helps you plan accordingly. All right, so we've got the theory down, but how do we actually put this stuff into practice in our daily lives? Let's talk about how to turn these ideas into real mental muscles. I've got 3 specific habits you can start building like today. First up, just tweak your language a little bit. Instead of blurting out, I'm sure, try saying something like, I'm about 80% confident that. Just doing that forces your brain to think differently. Second, get in the habit of asking yourself this killer question. What evidence would it take to make me change my mind? This basically primes your brain to be open. And finally, try this as a daily exercise. Go find one piece of information that actually challenges something you believe. It's a great mental workout. So let's bring this all home. The goal here isn't to get rid of doubts. The goal is to harness it, to use it. We've got to totally reframe how we see uncertainty. Because admitting, I don't know, or I'm not 100% sure, that's not a weakness. It is an absolute superpower. Seriously, if you walk away with just one thing today, let it be this. Certainty is a closed door. It shuts down learning, it shuts down debate, it's a dead end. But probability, that's an open door. It invites new ideas, collaboration, and ultimately way, way better decisions. So I'm going to leave you with a challenge. Think back to that thing you were 100% sure about at the beginning of this. What would happen if you looked at it again, not as right or wrong, but through this powerful and flexible lens of probability? Give it a shot. You might be really surprised by what you find.